Is there a secret episode of Stranger Things? I'm not gonna edge you. The answer is no. Or at least that's what I think. If you have no idea what's going on, let me fill you in real quick. Stranger Things, Netflix's most successful show, has finally come to an end after 10 years and 5 seasons. The problem is, the ending was so bad, people are going into psychosis and speculating there is a 9th secret episode that will reveal that Mike and us, the audience, have all been under Vecna's influence this whole time, pulling off one of the craziest twists and fourth wall breaks of all time, and also explaining all the inconsistencies and weird vibes from the last 4 episodes. I also found that crazy when I first ran into this theory called conformity gate, but as time passed and I went down the rabbit hole, the more it made sense. There are undeniably a lot of compelling arguments for why this is happening. From dissecting the show itself, to interviews with the cast and creators, to official social media accounts of the show or Netflix or the actors, the evidence is there and a big part of me wants to believe in this. I wish there was this magical, groundbreaking episode that will fix the show and redeem the duffers. But the truth is that, most likely, all of the Easter eggs are just mistakes, or deliberately put there with the intention of intriguing the viewers and creating this discourse. That will also explain why no one's debunking these theories. They want us to keep talking and speculating because it keeps them relevant. It increases the rewatchability value, it keeps the engagement rates up, and opens opportunities for spin-offs, books, games, whatever they want to make extending a franchise, with the audience kept searching for answers. So between bed writing and straight up being manipulative, I fear it's a combination of both. That's just what happens when a show gets massively successful and is forced to continue much further than intended. But of course, it wasn't always like this. There's a reason the show became as popular as it is, and in this case, it's season 1. I think we can all agree that season 1 of Stranger Things is its best, and on its own would have gone down as one of the best TV shows of all time. It felt very intimate, the premise was very intriguing, it had great characters and character relations with a very impressive cast across all ages. It tapped into 80s nostalgia, and personally, I found it the scariest. It was a small town mystery with supernatural elements, the Upside Down was a messed up lab experiment, the Demogorgons were rabid and scary, the concept of 11 was very interesting. It was also unknown, fascinating and terrifying at the same time, but at its core, at the center of the story, stood family and friendship. They obviously left an opening for a second season, but the story was complete. Everything was resolved and it was perfectly fine to end there. They then obviously got season 2, which is still great in my opinion. It was a smooth continuation of season 1 and was most definitely pre-planned. I know a lot of people don't love it, but it has some undeniably great parts like the pairing of Steve and Dustin and Noah's incredible acting with the spy storyline. But of course, nothing can recreate the magic and greatness of season 1. We also shall not forget episode 7, that was only relevant because they wanted to make a point that it was, bringing Cully back in season 5, justifying its existence with what felt like an attitude of, haha, we didn't make that episode for nothing. They actually admitted that the reason they brought her back is because they enjoyed working with the actress, and they thought, what would bring the most shock value to the audience? Both are not good reasons. But anyways, I love season 2, and once again, I think it was a perfect time to end it. But they didn't, and season 3 is where things get ridiculous. The story itself became more absurd with its concepts and a bit more comedy focused. Also, the wardrobe felt more like 80s costumes and not clothes that people would actually wear. The season was very vibrant in every sense of the word, but not in a good way in my opinion. It did have a lot of iconic and memorable moments, but was overall unnecessary. I didn't like Billy's redemption arc, Hopper this season was a caricature of himself, and this is where Will or Noah starts getting wasted. I was still enjoying myself, especially with the Steve, Dustin, Robin, Erica storyline, and specifically of course Robin's coming out scene, but I definitely sensed a decrease in quality, and the repetitiveness of the whole ordeal started to be felt. Then season 4 really irked me. I know a lot of people consider it to be a return to form for the show, but I don't fully agree. They definitely came back to the more dark and serious tone, ditching the weird vibes from season 3, which is good, but I did not find it at all scary or mature like it was claiming to be. It also felt somewhat arrogant to have such long episodes and splitting the season into 2, but in terms of the actual content of the long 13 hours, Robin's character is ruined, they turned her into a stupid comic relief, Will continues to do nothing, the concept of Vecna is not scary to me, and their effort to make everything scary came off more try-hard than genuine. It was pretty evident that they retconned a bunch of stuff, which wasn't even bad, I just wish they admitted to it, and the writing became shallow, spoon-feeding the audience pretty much everything. Then after a long break and a huge build-up, season 5 finally came out, and it actually felt really good at start. Even with all the problems I've had with previous seasons, I was hyped and ready to see how this will end. I think I'm in the minority here, but I actually kind of enjoy the time jump. It definitely killed the momentum and suspense from the season 4 finale, which left us on a cliffhanger, but then again, It also has been 3 years. If I think of another similar time jump, Avengers Endgame comes to mind, and in that case, it worked wonders. It gave the audience the opportunity to play catch up with the characters and not the other way around, and I think they could have done something really interesting with it here, but the execution was just not good. Robin's opening monologue is basically the exact opposite of show don't tell, which is something the Duffers do a lot, unfortunately. So much of this season is characters having epiphanies, explaining plans, and finishing each other's sentences with very cliche dialogue and scene structure. But I still really enjoyed Volume 1. The build-up and reveal of Will's power was pretty incredible and quite beautiful as well. We also had delightful Derek, angsty Dustin, and this hilarious scene.
Mr. Watson?
But from Volume 2 and on, I think the disappointment was pretty universal. The whole twist of the Upside Down being a wormhole was fine, but nothing earth-shattering because at the end of the day, it doesn't really change much. It was more just for the sake of having a twist. I also don't love a villain with the sole purpose of destroying the world because, like, why? I do think Henry is more complicated than that, and I know that a huge part of his story is in the first shadow play, but it's pretty unfair to put that much lore into something most of your audience don't and won't have access to. I mean, the least you can do is have a pro shot and put it on Netflix, or, and hear me out here, have a longer season. Remember when we used to have 22 episodes in a season? What happened to that format? I feel like it would solve so many problems and issues we have nowadays with TV shows and streaming in particular. But anyways, back to the content. Will, as I said, finally had a bigger role, which I really enjoyed. My only grievance is the really bad writing for his coming out scene, and also the fact that he was once again sidelined after episode 4. Everyone else was a bit bland. Mike was a nothing burger, Joyce was ruined, the whole Jonathan, Nancy, Steve thing, I didn't really care. Max and Holly were fine, I was just never more frustrated with characters not running in my life, which continued to be a problem, by the way. Ellen Hopper just felt mundane, the climax was underwhelming and rushed, and the epilogue was unnecessarily long and somewhat cringy. The Duffers promised and talked the season up so much, but they did not deliver. It actually felt like they were laughing in our faces with Max saying in the epilogue,
Wait. Hold on. That's it. Comfort and happiness? Could you be more trite? I thought you were some kind of master storyteller or something.
Which is kind of self-aware, but it doesn't atone anything. I feel like there was a turning point from which the Duffers felt comfortable giving us mediocre content, knowing we will eat it up. And we did. And we do. We're already so consumed by these characters and the story, we're enslaved to any content they will give us about it. I think the Duffers' biggest enemy was their own vanity and the time between seasons and episode, which allowed the actors to grow up and gave the fans the time to conjure up theories that are better than anything they could write. I know hate is a strong word, but I have a lot of resentment towards the Duffers for pretending to be these mastermind writers who had this all planned out from the beginning. They clearly didn't, which is okay. I just find their insistence on saying they did very annoying and pretentious. Other than that, they're cowards. No one from the main cast is dead. There were never real stakes. Hopper, Max, Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, and of course Eleven all had great opportunities to die as they reached the end of their arc and or to serve the narrative. Instead, we get these fake outs or new characters to die in their place. We had Bob for season 2, Billy and Alexi for season 3, Eddie most notably in season 4, and I guess Kali in season 5? It's kind of insane that no death throughout the show hit as hard as the 3 Bs, Benny, Barb, and Bob. And then came Hopper with a perfect sacrifice at the end of season 3 that did hit hard until he wasn't even dead. Max should have died in season 4 after getting Vecna'd. Steve could have died instead of Eddie. Nancy and Jonathan in that melting room, and I know Els may be dead, her ending is ambiguous and up for interpretation, but just suggesting the possibility she's alive is a cop-out. And it's not like I want these characters to die, but every single time they build up the emotion, they make us care and feel for the characters, and then just erase it all to the point where we're now not even scared anymore. I mean, when Steve fell, did anyone actually believe he was going to die? Because I certainly didn't. And instead of feeling dread and concern, I just rolled my eyes at the screen. The Duffers never commit or let you deal with the consequences that they created. They just back out of it and betray their audience. I also noticed the increase of bad dialogue writing over the years, and season 5 was particularly bad. Everything had a Disney tone to it. He's right behind me and he vibes that not only make you cringe, but also severely affect the performances from these actors we know can be phenomenal. I know the Duffers are under a lot of criticism right now, but rightfully so. I mean, there are a lot of people who are focusing on the wrong things, plot holes like What happened to Susie? Why specifically Will? What happened to all the pregnant women? Some completely irrelevant, some explicitly explained in the show, and some understood through context. The real questions are, how do you go from high quality television to this hot mess? Especially when you insist you had it all figured out from the start. How are you now unable to piece together the puzzle that you created? Why are you guessing things about your story? Why is everything happening off screen? Why did you lie about what was going to happen in the season? Traitor? Dark Christmas? Bloodbath? What was that all about? And I'm not even gonna start talking about Byler and a debatable queerbaiting you did with them, but what was all the symbolism and details you trained us to pay attention to? Why use typological numbers and explicitly tell us to not believe in coincidences? How do you write an ending so bad people refuse to believe it's real? So maybe, just maybe, there is one speculation about Stranger Things that is true. That the Duffer brothers have stolen the initial idea from a college friend and or had a ghostwriter who parted ways with them. Of course, the other option is they got lazy and careless, they started taking their audience for granted, and greedily continued their show way past its natural ending point. And honestly, I don't know which one's worse. Of course, there is technically the possibility of a secret episode, and although it's very unlikely, if it ever does come out and it doesn't suck, I will take back everything bad I have to say about the Duffers. But until then, this is my stance. At the end of the day, Stranger Things was a huge show and cultural phenomenon for the last decade. I know I have a lot of criticism, but I still love it. I'm just a bit disappointed. I'm glad I watched it, and I will definitely recommend at least the first 2 seasons for others to watch as well. It's entertaining, fun, and emotional. It's full of suspense and beautiful moments. I'm just sad it will be remembered as one of those kinda cool mid-shows rather than the masterpiece it had the potential to be. The seasons from my favorite to least favorite are 1, 2, 5, 3, and 4, but all will have a special place in my heart for forever, and also everything after season 2 is kinda interchangeable, to be honest. I hope this came out coherent. I was just really eager to voice my opinion on this. Please let me know your perspective in the comments or theories if you have any. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, bye!